I'm excited to have this session with you because one reason that I'm here as a safe advisor to Agile Hive is because I believe so strongly in that synergy between process and tools. And you've all probably experienced that pain of, oh my gosh, I'm trying to wrangle with Jira and make it, fit into the safe, structure and events and terminology. So one of the first things I did when I started advising Agile Hive was I created some articles, role-based articles. We tend to focus on release train engineers and scrum masters when we talk about tools like this, and yet product management and system architecture are, they're part of that trifecta in SAFE. So today we'll start with the RTE success patterns, and the article that I wrote, it's in a blog, I have a link at the end, uses Agile Hive Data Center screenshots. So today I want to focus on what we can do in Agile Hive Cloud, including some of the near roadmap. So Santiago, I'm excited with you to see the new features. Sometimes we just get a little smattering of here's what's new, here's what's new, here's what's new. My goal here is to pull together not only what's new, but what's there and useful for RTEs. So I like to use these responsibility wheels that came out in SAFE 6.0. And I love these because it's such a good graphic. My blog articles are written based on these. So let's just start with, we'll go through this responsibility wheel one spoke at a time. And first of all, we think of the release train engineer, yes, the person who facilitates PI planning. And if we're just thinking about putting together the logistics, getting the tooling, making sure all the teams know how to log into Zoom or whatever, then we are really shortchanging the value that an effective RTE brings in this responsibility. So here's 6 bullets. They're from the article in SAFE 6.0 on the RTE, but I pulled out some of the specific words. I'm going to highlight a few of these here. So let's look at alignment with strategy. Well, transparency and context for everyone on the Agile release train and the stakeholders is so critical. I worked with a business owner that couldn't even remember the names of the teams or what they were doing, or etc. And so what I love about Agile Hive Cloud is every screen has that navigation on the left panel, which you see here and you're probably all familiar with. But it really helps put things into context, and the larger and more complex your organization, the handier this reference is for you. So at the top, I show you my organization structure where we can see the layers. And I love that you put these in here and Agile Hive connects them together so that you can do parent-child relationships and you can get this safe hierarchy. So this is at the bottom. As a RTE and a safe coach, I find that one of the biggest things for us to overcome is people kind of still have their work in a silo. So here I have a team at the bottom and they have a user story, and we need to train people. Don't just think about the work that's immediately in front of you, but look at the context, like the feature and the art that it supports, even the maybe capability if you have a large solution. Or what we show here is a strategic theme at the portfolio level. Why do we do this? Because we want collective ownership, and that starts with transparency. And there are some people on your art working at the team level who will look through all these things and they'll say, you know what, if we're focused on competition beating features, do we really only need this in X scenario? And there are some people who will do that naturally. There are some people who just want to keep heads down. But Agile Hive Cloud gives you a great way to look at that. And as an RTE, you are probably the key person that is flying at that higher level of altitude, helping ensure that things make sense, that there are no gaps, and that it fits together. And you'll constantly be coaching people to keep the context in mind. Now, we know with PI planning, we have to have a good backlog ready, and that means having the right features defined with the right elements to them, like the acceptance criteria. Also, making sure that we understand how the features decompose into the work of the teams, so that in PI planning, the teams can work together to get agreement and alignment on the dependencies. Now, this is a pretty busy screenshot. This is my own system, which I call Flyby Hive. It's a navigation system for personal aircraft. And it's showing you a more realistic view of an agile release train, where features are supported by multiple teams, where you have component-based teams and a complex system. This is much more likely. I've never worked on an ART that only had one feature per team, and it made sense for them to do that. So I love this view on the team planning board. What I love in Agile Hive is that I can see the different, are these at-risk dependencies? Are they good dependencies, et cetera, which you can see with the color coding. And the other thing that I had never even really seen in a tool that I love here, not only do I have my capacity and load for my team, the global positioning team, but I can see capacity and load across these other teams. Now, I haven't really filled in capacity for these other teams, but imagine the scenario that you are in PI planning and you're the RTE, and this team says, oh, well, I can't get that done at the time that this other team needs it. Well, let's look at capacity and load across different teams. And as an RTE, I'm going to say, can you find another team that can help with that work, that we could give part of it? Those are the really powerful aspects of being able to see the single source of truth that the RTE can leverage to help out with PI planning. Now, the other aspect that I love, and these are the prototypes for the dashboards from the ART level and the team level. These are on the roadmap that Daniel will talk about. But you can, at the ART level, you can roll up the information from the stories into the features. You can see which teams are contributing. You can look at, you have a dependency view and a burnup view. And something new that we're adding based on my recommendation to Daniel, people are always looking at how far away is PI planning. If I'm an RTE, one of the biggest things I have to worry about is helping product management get that backlog ready for the next PI planning. And so having this in your face, like only 2 days left, is going to help the RTE not be so much of a nag, but an encourager. So moving right along, and we'll make this recording available so you can look over these things in detail. In PI execution, some people think, oh, all I got to do is get the Scrum Masters together, in a scrum of scrums periodically, and they'll tell me what's going on. No, an effective release train engineer is still going to fly at that higher level of altitude, help track progress, help work with teams and across teams to help manage the changes that are needed. They're going to help the teams focus on the why, the PI objectives, not just the what of the features and enablers and stories. And one of my favorite things, I got a slide for you, is facilitating the system demo. Oh my gosh, I could do a whole session on the importance of the system demo and having the scenario defined up front, and how it brings teams together. And then also I talked about supporting preparation for the next PI planning and supporting roadmap refinement. Now, I don't have time in this precious little 20 minutes to go through all of those, but I'm going to highlight some things for you. So here's the PI objectives. Some people on the top right. Now, yes, you don't have the dashboards yet in Agile Hive Cloud. You will very soon, but you have all those attributes you need in the objective issue type. So some of these things like, is it an uncommitted objective, the planned business value, actual business value? Yes, these are newer attributes, but they're there. I just created an issue filter to show those. We can show the status, the progress, and then we can associate those objectives with the work so that we can see the progress on the work. And then the other thing is the progress. Like here, I have an enabler from the systems engineering team to create reference models. And so we can see that the system engineering team has several stories contributing to this enabler, but we can see their progress throughout the execution of the PI. So why is it important to have this single source of truth? How does it give us efficiency? Well, transparency, alignment, and that golden nugget, fewer meetings. Oh, context switching and meetings can just tank the energy in your organization. And this can be used to offset that. Preparing for the system demo. Oh, it's one of my favorite things. I could talk to you about simple models of the scenarios and how I brought a whole art of people together with their stakeholders to where they were starting to sing the same tune. It was starting to be clear to the stakeholders what the different teams were doing, how it all fit together. What we have here is one of my favorite things about Jira and Agile Hive is that integration with Confluence. This is how it becomes our single source of truth. You can see here I have one of my features. This was a linked Confluence page on one of my features in Agile Hive Cloud, and I've got some acceptance criteria detailed there. I've got a simple sequence diagram that the architects built, and then I've got the demo scenario. If you wait till the day before you're doing your system demo and you're trying to cobble things together, it's going to be crazy. I had an engineer once. I said, why don't we just tell a story with the demo scenario instead of just haphazardly going from team 1 to team 2 to team 3? And he said, this doesn't need to be a science fair project, Cindy. And I said, just try it. They tried it. Their customer, their business owner, loved it. I could talk about that a lot. So concurrent threads of SAFe. This is my picture. You won't see it in Scaled Agile Framework. I actually stole it from a guy in an RTE class I attended. But this is important for the RTE to realize. Once we get out of planning interval planning, the RTEs and the Scrum Masters are really helping direct the execution. The POs, PMs, they accept the work as it's finished. If there's any changes needed, yes, of course, they discuss that. But concurrently, somebody has to start looking ahead to the roadmaps, the future work. What are we learning? What features and stories do we have coming up next? And so this is that concurrent thread of preparing. The big anti-pattern I see is product managers get all wrapped up in trying to micromanage the work and lose track of how quickly the next PI planning is upon them. So who helps be the encourager? That's right, the RTEs. Okay, just have a couple more. These will be quicker. Coaching the art. So this single source of truth helps the RTE recognize and share success patterns. I had a team called the Kraken, and the Kraken were just the most awesome team on the art. Well, if we went in, instead of sitting down with the Kraken and distracting them and saying, what is it you're doing? How is it you're doing this so well? It's a good conversation, but we want to start with saying, maybe they have smaller stories. Maybe they're swarming the stories. Maybe they are not over-committing on the load. Maybe they don't have maybe they're controlling the work in process. And I would look at their Kanban board to see that. The counter side of that is, where are the systemic problems? Where are there teams that are struggling? Where are there dependencies that are not being met? Yeah, I could go to Scrum of Scrums and ask each of the Scrum Masters, but they're going to also see their team's work, most likely. So Optimizing flow. Oh, wait, do we have to have all those flow metrics from SAFe? No, you don't have to have that to be able to start to establish this flow mindset, implement some flow measures. A real easy one you can do today with Agile Hive Cloud is look at the distribution, the flow distribution. How much of the work is customer-facing features versus internal enablers versus improvement enablers that came from relentless improvement, and start to look at, do we have the right balance of, say, reducing technical debt and business-facing features? Because guess what? The release train engineer is going to have to help coach the system engineers, the people fighting for DevOps, automation, and the business-facing PMs are going to have to coach them on how to even talk to each other about what the right balance is. Okay, so we can do that today with the transparency we have in our single source of truth. Then, lastly, improving relentlessly. We have to ensure the improvements are captured and tracked, and we have to advocate for these enablers, like I was saying. So automation of behavior-driven development testing. You know, we need a benefit hypothesis so people can talk about it and advocate for it. So in conclusion, as I reach the end of my 20-minute time box, you know, ensuring that there is a single source of truth for the artifacts, and being clear as a release train engineer, what's the benefit of us doing this? Are we just putting stuff in the tool just to say that we stuff stuff in the tool? No, we have to make sure that it's useful and supports the flow of value. And that's key for advocating for transparency and alignment. And if we have time, as part of the Q&A at the end, you can also articulate what other ways do you need Agile Hive to support your RTEs. But otherwise, I'm done, and I'm going to hand it back over to Daniel.